Hello.
It's been a bit.
It's been a while.
Huh? When did we do this last? A month ago?
I think so. I think it was. Yeah. And then just life happened. There was a few clashes of times. I guess that
Birth,
happens when you're on one side of the world and the other.
birthdays. We both had wedding anniversaries, so congrats to us. And
Absolutely.
life and workshops and things going on. So it's good to be back
Yes.
in our space.
It is nice to be in the space. And as I shared with you a few days ago, I kind of missed that space because I've gotten kind of used to having a chat with you every
I,
couple
I,
of weeks.
I had the same thing. I was when you wrote that, I'm like, yeah. Every like, because usually you'll send me a note on the my Sunday night or Monday night or something, and if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm scrolling, there you are. Hey, what are we going to talk about this week? And then I'd be waking up going, oh, where's my note? Where's my message? Like, we must be speaking this week. And then I look like, nope, it's not this week. Nope, it's not this week. Nope, it's not this week. It's this week.
It's this week. It is today. That's super
And
cool.
I have been so wound up with my own stuff the last few weeks. I'm glad you had a topic.
Well, it sounds like the topic that I kind of wanted to go investigate today is probably might be helpful if you've been tied up with a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, probably. So it's releasing pressure. That's what you wrote to me.
It is, yes. A few weeks back, I think I have to start there. A few
Okay.
weeks back,
Catch me up too.
yeah, a few weeks back, we decided that we would do some travel in about 3 months, from there. So we went, right, let's do this travel to Adelaide and to Melbourne, and we booked it in and we booked all the flights, and then I blocked out my calendar for those times, which is all very reasonable. I don't need to have clients accidentally booking in a time when I'm not going to be sitting in this room and available for them. That seems very sensible. What comes with that, however, is then because March is not as, well, now I've only got a couple of weeks in March that I'm actually available. And so what happened is that I left more appointment times open so that I could fill in the gaps and make sure that I was available. And this last week has been a level of insanity of not only booked in appointments, but extra phone calls and clients legitimately needing a little bit of extra support, which I completely offer. This is something that I 100% want to be able to do for clients, but I kind of created an environment that, well, I've managed to do it for my clients, but that's all well and good when it's just your business that's got all of that full, but then there's life.
Are you
And
telling
there's
me
like,
you didn't plan life into March? No life,
I
just life.
didn't. I didn't really plan it into this week. My intention is to plan it into March, but I didn't really allow life to exist in this week. So I've gone back to back with phone calls, back to back with sessions, finishing work at 8:30 at night, and about it was Wednesday, so third day in for this sort of back-to-back appointments for the business. I found I couldn't wind down. Now I have a bit of a routine when I come in from a client, and sometimes I'm a little bit pumped because it's been a great conversation, and I'm got a little bit of, not adrenaline flow, maybe it is adrenaline.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
just a bit excited, or it's, there's a bit of energy around it. And so usually when I come inside, I offload to hubby and go, oh, it was really cool. I had this conversation. I did this, blah, blah, blah. It's really just a great opportunity for me to get it out of my system. And I attempted that on Wednesday night, and it didn't really work.
What do
I
you,
couldn't.
what do you mean?
My brain wouldn't turn off. So it was like I'd turned all the switches on, and by day 3, I'd forgotten to turn all the lights off. So my brain was alive and awake, and shutting it down was difficult. So, one night, if that's okay, excuse me. So I get through my yesterday. Same thing happened last night. Being able to turn the brain off. Now, then I'm starting to get a compound effect, because then what happens is that I'm going to bed later.
So
And then
I'm laughing. You've got me thinking of a Seinfeld episode. There's nighttime Jerry, and then there's morning Jerry. And nighttime Jerry doesn't give a shit about morning Jerry because he's nighttime Jerry. He doesn't have to deal with it. But morning Jerry hates nighttime Jerry because he's the one who pays all the price. Anyways, it makes me
totally.
Makes me laugh.
But what was really interesting is I was actually aware that the longer I had to be awake, the more tired I potentially would be in the morning. And then there's other strategies that have to come in to make sure that then I've got more energy to cope during the day, because I've still got a full day ahead. And so what is it that I am, it reminded me of a budget that's not working really well, where you have to borrow from this account to put into that account, and then eventually you'll pay it back. But you're kind of just moving things around, but not really being productive, and not really.
It's the energy account that you're spending and not replenishing. Yeah.
Not quite replenishing. And so that's, so that was the wind down time is different. The tiredness the following day is a little more increased, which then the wind down time ironically is longer, again, more tired the following day. And then, of course, there's other outside family pressures at the moment, with in-laws being unwell, and again, emotional reserve is needed for that time. And I absolutely have the capacity to show up for that. But again, I'm borrowing energy from somewhere else. And it just feels like it's just getting lower and lower and lower. Ironically, I work with energy. Funny that. I get that this is a message for me. Like, I get it.
But isn't that the rule? Isn't it you teach what you most need to learn?
Totally. Sometimes I'm not learning. Sometimes I'm not listening. I don't know.
There's always a recalibration that needs to happen. So you get good at something, but then there's always more to learn, right? You're gonna come up to a new threshold or a new level, and then you have to reevaluate and then do your magic again.
Yes. So I thought that it was exceptionally convenient that you and I got to hash a bit of this out today, because it's the week that it's actually happening. And as much as I can be aware of it, being able to have an opportunity to articulate all of these elements, I know has huge amount of benefit. I do it for people all the time, but often I don't, and this week particularly, don't give myself the chance to articulate all the pieces of the jigsaw that seem to be overwhelming me. So
what's the value of you being able to articulate all of it in a space like this, where like you get a chance just to go bleh?
Yeah, there is that, but there's also a chance that I have to articulate it, which means I have to own it. I have to fully acknowledge and not just pretend to acknowledge that I've overbooked my calendar. I have to, now, admittedly, there has been some points of relief during the week. I've had a lunch that I went to, which meant that I had a window of time driving to that lunch, and that lunch itself was a complete escape from my week, which was lovely. And I do have another one tomorrow that will also help to recharge me. But I also noticed that this morning I kind of reached my breaking point. Now, I don't mean that I fell apart on the floor and collapsed. I actually reached the breaking point of this is enough. So I had a few things booked before we were doing this call today, and I just moved them. I reallocated the time window that I would do those things in. And I'm a bit of a jigsaw fan. I like doing jigsaws. So I realized that I hadn't been doing anything for me that means nothing to anybody else. You know, just that it's the classic hobby. No one else cares if I do a jigsaw or not today. It doesn't improve anyone's life except for mine, because it gives me something else to focus on that is not looking after anyone else, and ironically it's looking after me. Mm-hmm. So I chose that this morning, but I actually think I actually chose that because I knew I would have to articulate the mess that I had put myself in and the pressure of wanting to show up 100% for everyone all week. And I've not been able to do it. The person that suffered the most, apart from myself, is the person I live with. And therefore that impacts me. So it's not been the most harmonious week inside our family home. Luckily, there's only him and me. And all will be forgiven. But it's like, he even said last night, he said, this is just tired Chris. This isn't the real Chris. This is just tired Chris, because I didn't even realize that I was being short in my answers to him. Our communication with each other sucked. It was basically non-existent, a lot of assuming going on. And it's like, wow, okay, so I feel quite lucky that I can see it when it's playing out with my husband, and he's lived with me long enough to call me on it. Mm-hmm. But it could so easily start to have little tentacles that then start to filter out into other areas of my life. So my want to be present for my mother-in-law and let her just talk to me because she needs time to offload about things. I want to make sure that I'm not cutting that conversation off short, but it could easily happen because my whole system is like, I've got nothing. And I can't give in the way that I would normally give. So I figured pressure release was probably required.
But the difference between you and I would say the majority of people is the fact that you are more aware. So even if you did overcharge your calendar, your schedule, you do have the ability to, you hit your wall. And it just so happened to be that your wall is okay telling you, hey, Chris, maybe gone a little bit too far. And he's going to call you on your shit. But then you can recalibrate and recenter yourself knowing that.
Yes. And again, be preemptive over March and April and ensure that there is a lot of gap, because there are some unknowns yet inevitable outcomes with my in-laws that will happen over the next somewhere in the next 2 to 3 months. And that's going to require emotional energy. And I need to make sure that I've got a bit stored away. And sure, I'm in I know that that's going to happen. So I can preempt it a little bit. But often in life, we don't have the preempt. We don't know that something's about to happen tomorrow that might need our emotional energy or might need us to show up fully present. And essentially, I have exhausted all of that in me this week. So I'm going to be absolutely non-existent if something unexpected happens in the next 24 hours, because my capacity to cope will be limited.
I honestly don't think that we're given anything bigger than we can handle. So I think if something did shitty happen tomorrow, I think you'd be able to deal with it. But then you're going to steal more from that energy bank than you've already overdrafted, right? However, like I said, because of where you are awareness wise, you are able to catch yourself and make adjustments. And I think that's why we have these contrasting experiences in our life anyways, because we hit that contrast wall so that we can make adjustments. And sometimes that wall's got to be a little bit more forceful or thicker or harder for us to get the point.
But that pressure release is going to happen anyway. But I'd like to think that maybe deliberate pressure release is more effective than.
Oh, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be proactive about this. I'm just saying you're going to bang your head up against the wall as long as necessary and as hard as you need to wake up. But you had your wake up on this, is what I mean.
Yeah. And I think, but isn't it interesting that we all have that? And no matter how much awareness we have, no matter how much work we do, we actually all have to experience this. It's just a bugger when you're in it. It just feels like all that pressure keeps piling and there's no release.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still haven't really felt the release, but I did some creative stuff this morning. I did my jigsaw. That has probably given more to my energy system than my conscious can kind of comprehend. I'm sure it's fed me in ways that I can't really recognize. And it was only about 15 minutes worth. So it wasn't a big window of time.
So is it the jigsaw puzzle thing that was the release?
Creative stuff. Yep.
So if I use the pressure cooker analogy, I don't know if anybody even uses a pressure cooker anymore. It's got the little thing on the top, and
we use a pressure cooker.
I haven't seen one in use in eons, but my mom used to use one, and yeah, there's like the little pressure release valve on the top. What do you normally do to release the pressure?
Good question. I try to not have to release the pressure. My strategy is to do preventative rather than having to have the pressure released. I haven't felt this level of pressure for a while. So one of the things I constantly do is offload. So use my words up because, I've got a few more thousand words to use than my husband. So he's gotten used to listening and letting those words unravel. And I know that having a creative outlet that doesn't impact anyone else, that is not for anyone else, is really effective for me because I choose to show up for others. So I need to have a counterbalance.
What are those tools for you that help you preemptively, though?
Effective time management, so actually building in buffers between appointments rather than having them go back to back. That's something I usually try to do, but knew that I hadn't done it. So yeah, building in buffers, that's from the business perspective. On a personal level, I think the other thing I do really love these questions because I haven't acknowledged these at all. Is create boundaries. So being able to say no when somebody needs something from me. And when you're in the giving space of, I'm just giving to everyone, I'm just showing up for everyone, I've just got to do it all mode, whatever that mode is called, you forget to say no. You forget to say, I'm not available until 3 hours time, or I'm just allowing space to do nothing. And that's the other thing that I tend to build in. So if somebody wants to catch up, or I usually say no. This week, I've said yes, and now need to adjust other things. So they're the two, I'd say they were the two strategies I use, is the buffer for the business and being able to say no.
And those didn't happen this week or last 2 weeks or whatever it was.
Not to the same degree that I normally do. And it really made a difference, not in a particularly good way. I mean, if anyone was to ask any client that I spoke to this week, they wouldn't know the difference. But I know the difference within me. I know how I'm feeling when I get to 8:30 at night. And I don't think it's worth it. I don't think that life, I think there's better choices to make in life than getting to the end of the day and feeling completely exhausted.
I understand.
And that's on me. It's my choices that I made, but I've been making different ones moving forward.
Well, that's the thing. I have not prepared for this conversation in the least. The one, because I have been overloaded myself. However, the one thing that I did want to bring up, where without a doubt, was it's self-imposed. We do it to ourselves. It's not life throwing a bunch of stuff at you that you can't handle. It's the way that you show up and attend to that stuff that is what happens. So in my world, I have created this monster of a 2-week workshop, and then inside of that threw in a workshop that I was going to do for more like a passion project sort of thing. And I got a request to make a modification to that workshop, and I was okay with it initially, but I could feel inside that it didn't feel right to go from a full workshop to an individual. And I just know that if I spend that time preparing for something like that, I'm spending all this extra energy when it's better served elsewhere right now. Because I know I can produce a way better workshop in the future with a full room than I can just catering to one person. So it's self-imposed. So I'm listening to my own internal guidance not to do that. It's okay not to do that. It's okay to say no, like you're saying. I was so running ragged today. Okay, this week. And we've had it's weird because things creep in that you can't control. Like our bus for my kids has been 15 minutes late every day for the last week and a half.
Oh.
I even get a nice little warning saying it's going to be late. There's a shortage. Anyways, because I heard the bus drivers in Cuba taking a vacation. So I don't have time to take my kids to school in the morning. So we're asking my in-laws to take them. So they've been gracious and taken them while I've been doing the workshop. And then today, snow day, no buses at all. It doesn't matter anyways. You don't get these things. It's crazy. So I said, okay, Grandpa, could you bring him? That'd be great. Don't worry. I'll pick him up tonight. No problem. I got so wrapped up in the things I needed to do post-workshop to get ready for tomorrow's next day of workshop. I forgot to go. my wife yells from the office behind me here. She's like, Ian, did you pick up the kids? No, I'm on my way. I forgot to pick up my kids. It's not a big deal if they waited an extra 5 minutes. It's not a huge deal, but it's a reminder that you need to manage your time. And if I like I said, this is all self-imposed. I have put this on myself. If I put some boundaries around what times I'm going to do things and then stop and then focus on my family or focus on my kids or focus on myself, which I haven't done a bad job of focusing on myself. I'm at least cramming in a 15-minute workout just to move my body. Like I'm doing some stuff, but like you, I'm not doing all of them. I'm only throwing in the occasional strategy it's like a Band-Aid. Okay, I can
Yeah, it
speak
is. It's a Band-Aid. It's like, oh, that'll give me another 15 minutes of good stuff.
my 20-minute meditation. I've got about 8 minutes before I've got to pee before the workshop starts. Okay, I'm going to go do an 8-minute meditation. And I'm sitting there, I'm sitting on my couch, I'm holding my crystals and I'm breathing. And then I'm thinking about all the stuff I've got to do. I'm not
You are not in the
I
meditation.
I am closing my eyes. That is all I am doing. So I get up and I go, because I'm not blocking off those critical pieces that are going to serve me in serving the people that I want to serve, plus myself and my family and all of that together. So long story short, it's all self-imposed, but we have the power to manage that.
We do. And
Boundaries.
it's about our choice, isn't it? It's our choice. And, you know, what consequence do you want to be living with? And, you know, forgetting the kids, maybe not the one you want.
Nobody got hurt. It's all fine. It's not that cold out. It's only minus 12.
It's only a snow day. It's
No,
okay.
snow day just means the buses can't drive on the snow. That's it. There's nothing to do with it's not. Anyways, no one's in harm here.
Yeah. So, and be some complete digression. It'd be lovely if we had a heat wave day where, when it's a heat wave, you don't have to go send the kids to school, but we don't get that.
We had a heat wave last week. It got up to like +4 or something. Anyways.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's February.
Okay, yep.
It's supposed to be -20. It's not supposed to be that. Anyways.
While we're enjoying our 33 degrees with
this is your summer, to be fair. This is your summer.
82% humidity just for good measure, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, and we need to be it's not necessarily a plan, but we just need to be aware that we have that we can say no. Whether we say no to having 8 appointments in a day and have 6, so that we have a little bit of wiggle room for the unexpected, or that would be, you know, something I need to do, or saying no to taking that phone call or seeing that person as soon as I get off a call and have the next one appear. Like, just creating buffer. So I go, no, I'm actually not available. Instead of me saying, oh, I'd be available at 3 o'clock, not available until 4. And just let those things play out. And the other thing that I realize is that there's a bit of fear that is also at play in this, is that, oh, if I don't do this now, what will happen? And needing to let go of that. That was the other little insight that I had, to make sure that I'm not running it through fear.
Yeah, I'm relating to all of those things. I have 4 emails on the second screen here, all ready to be sent. Like, it's to calm me, right? Like, it means that I'm prepared. So I'm over prepared to be prepared. So even if it's, and I think a lot of people probably battle with this, but is wanting to make sure that we're prepared. It's because we care, right? So I want to be ready for my workshop. I want to be practiced. But I would feel the same if this workshop was next week. I would still be practicing, preparing. It won't matter how much time I have between now and then. I'm still going to be putting myself through that. I had a sleepless night a week, like a week and a half ago, thinking about this, knowing that I had this time. I was even like almost yelling at myself, go to bed. This isn't for another week. You have time.
Yep.
So it's self-imposed. It really is. So if you can try to take the pressure off by trusting in the blocks that you set forth, dedicate your energy to those blocks, but then also dedicate your energy to the blocks of replenishment and energy and family and whatever it is that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yep. That's the simple equation for pressure release.
Good
I better get onto that.
Good reminders.
Oh, well, very grateful that we can have this chat today, and nothing like bearing the soul. Hey, this is how it really is in my world.
I think everybody can relate to this, and putting that too much pressure on ourselves. So take a break, do a puzzle, meditate, work out, kiss your husband, wife, partner, and remember to pick up your kids.
Good suggestions. Love it.